usihuzunike tena, bali uleme mwendo, hata ushike ufalme kule mwangani juu. Na tena niliuliza, nchi yote ikajibu, sasa mwendo watimika, milele karibu. Usihuzunike tena, ishara kuzasonga, na viumbe vyangojea sauti ya Bwana. Nikamuuliza shujaa, ndivyo kanitia moyo, shikilia mapigano, kitambo yaisha. Usihuzunike tena, kazi ifanywe kwa moyo, tumeahidi watimu tuishaposhinda. Sio mbali na nyumbani, fikra tamu njiani, yatupoza roho nayo, yafuta machozi.
But every day we learn to live moment by moment. The songwriter Annie Rebecca Smith writes, and I love the words, "How far from home?" I asked, as on I bent my steps. The watchman spake, "The long dark night is almost gone, the morning soon will break. Then weep no more, but speed thy flight, with hope's bright star, thy guiding ray, till thou shalt reach the realms of light in everlasting day." I asked the warrior on the field. This was his soul-inspiring song. "With courage bold, the sword I'll wield. The battle is not long. Then weep no more, but well endure the conflict till thy work is done. For this we know, the prize is sure when victory is won." I asked again, earth, sea, and sun seemed with one voice to make reply. Time's wasting suns are nearly run, eternity is nigh, then weep no more. With warning tones, portentous signs are thickening round. The whole creation waiting groans to hear the trumpet sound. Not far from home, O blessed thought, the traveler's lonely heart to cheer, which oft a healing balm has brought and dried the mourner's tear. Then weep no more, since we shall meet where weary footsteps never roam. Our trials past, our joys complete, safe in our Father's womb. One of my best hymns, well, my favorite is 336, but this is one of my best hymns. This hymn runs with a monotonous tone that says, "Then weep no more, then weep no more." But I like the part that says, "Our trials past, our joys complete, safe in our Father's home." For the past week, I've been thinking of several things. And one of the things that ran through my mind is one question I want to just think and run through, biblically looking at certain verses. If I was to title a sermon, if I was to title a message, I will put it in the form of a question. Where is my Father? Where is my Father? Now, I am fatherless at the moment. I have a father at the moment. Both statements are true. They are true on this wise. I lost my biological father some years back. I would sit every moment, think about every wonderful moment. And I think, as I told a friend in the course of this week, ever since I came to Europe, I think I find myself thinking so much about my father. There are so many things that I would want to talk to my father about. There are so many things I would want to tell my father. There are so many things, but I just can't. I just can't. Where is my father? My father is not an absentee father. It's not that he's not there to help me. I know. If this was to be short, I would just say my father is dead. He died years ago. And when my father died, I think a lot changed. I've listened to people talk about death, and every moment, I think since the loss of my father, I've been looking at texts, and I've been listening to messages, and I've been reflecting on the things people say when they want to explain certain things which are very painful. The text I first of all want to look at is one I love so much, and this is Paul writing, and Paul writes in 2 Corinthians chapter 1 and reading from verses 3, says, "Blessed be God, even the Father." Where's my Father? "Blessed be God, even the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ." And God, in seeking to give us an encouragement, talks to us about the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. So we talk of God the Father, who is the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ. The Bible says He's the Father of mercies, the God of all comfort. So when we are pained, when we are going through so many things, there is the Father of all comfort. So every time I ask myself, where is my Father? Then I remember there is God the Father of all comfort. In fact, Jesus dying upon the cross would even have to call Him, my God, why hast thou forsaken me?" When you look at this text in 2 Corinthians chapter 1, it says in verses 4, that God of all comfort, who comforteth us in all our tribulations, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. I love these texts because in reflecting on this text, it says that God comforteth us with special comfort so that we may be able to comfort other people when they are in trouble. It's as though God is saying that I know you're going to face certain challenges, but I want to give you comfort so that when you meet somebody else who is in need of comfort, you may be able to comfort them with the comfort of God Himself. And so when we are seeking comfort, we must not seek comfort in trying to pacify pain. We must seek comfort in the Lord. Allow me to explain what I am reading on this, for it says in verses 5 of 2 Corinthians chapter 1, "For as the sufferings of Christ abound in us, so our consolation also aboundeth by Christ." We are suffering, and we are suffering, the Bible says, abounds in us. Suffering abounds in us. And I'm beginning to think that when you look at times the things we have to go through in this life, you feel like you've gone through a lot. But it says that as the sufferings abound in us, the sufferings of Christ, our consolation must also abound by Christ. So when we are seeking comfort, our comfort will come from knowing God. Our comfort should come from God. In fact, it says in verses 6 of 2 Corinthians, "And whether we be afflicted, it is for your consolation and salvation, which is effectual in the enduring of the same sufferings which we also suffer, or whether we be comforted, it is for your consolation and salvation." Now, this is where I want the Lord to speak to me. I want the Lord to comfort me with the fact that when I am suffering, when I don't know what to do, when I am in search of an answer, the comfort that the Lord will give me is for my salvation. That the Lord will do everything in a way that will lead me to God Himself. Where is my Father? I don't know. I have seen funerals. I have seen deaths. And I think death is one thing that even when we experience death over and over again, you know, they say that you can develop habits and all those things. I don't know. But death to me is painful at every point in time. Every point in time. Every time. And I think for when we look at death, at times people have tried to explain death. I don't even want explanations of death. How do you explain something as painful as death? How do you explain? Death, I think, needs no explanation. These are some of the things the songwriter says we'll understand it better by and by. And I think we'll understand it better by and by. When the same Paul would write that the last enemy that shall be destroyed is death, I think I believe that. Because death is an enemy. Death is painful. And when you look at death, I've reflected on a number of things when people try to explain death. And I think today, if I don't have enough time, I think I'll still talk about this later on. But I think today I just want to critically think about this thing that people normally say, and they encourage you lose a loved one, and they tell you don't worry, your father, especially if they know that this is somebody who was maybe active in the Lord, in the ministry of the Lord, they tell you don't worry, your father is in heaven. But again, the question comes, and I like the way the preacher one day put it, that the question comes, but why does God take my father to heaven when I need my father on earth? I need my father. There's certain things that I need a fatherly touch to them. Why would God take all the good fathers to heaven? If God needed a choir and He has angels who are singing for Him, and I know that when we go to heaven we will sing, why can't He wait for us to go to heaven and sing? Why take my father early to go and sing? That has never comforted me. In fact, it has created a disruption in my thoughts just to try and imagine that. What they call cognitive dissonance. My thoughts are not in line when I listen to my father is in a better place. If he's in a better place, why didn't He go with us to a better place? But anyway, leaving that aside, if that's a better place, then why don't we just all die? God didn't create us to die. In fact, if death was taking us to a better place, then God would have created us and told us that you're going to die, then you get to a better place. Right now you're alive, but I want you to die quickly so that you can go to a better place. Maybe I read this text because I was looking at the book of Ecclesiastes, and I love the way Ecclesiastes puts some statements. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, reading from verses 5. No, chapter 9, reading from verses 5. It says, no, let me start from verses 4. For he that is joined to the living, for to him that is joined to all the living, there is hope. When you are joined to the living, when we are alive, there is hope. So putting hope in death doesn't really encourage me. In fact, I'm not preaching to anyone. I'm talking to myself. If you hear me talking to myself, that's it. You're just listening to me talking to myself. But today, I'm just telling myself that there is hope to me when I am joined to the living. In fact, the text says in verses 4, for a living dog is better than a dead lion. No matter how powerful the lion, the king of the jungle is, when the lion is dead, a living dog is better than a dead lion. And this one makes me appreciate life. When I am alive, there are things I need to do in life. In fact, one of the things that makes death more painful to me is it reminds me of the brevity of life. Because one moment you're together, the last moment with my dad, that we could be able to talk, leave alone going to the hospital and seeing him having suffered stroke and he's unable to talk, and I'm just talking and at least he's moving about, and then I know that we're communicating. But before then, the last time we talked, still clear. I was leaving home. I'd taken the longest vacation I'd taken at that point in time, just some holiday, and took a 1 month off. Went and stayed at home with my family, my wife and my daughter, and went and stayed with my dad. We stayed together for quite some time, and leaving, he prayed, and as usual, you just take it as normal. He's prayed to us, and we had various discussions. The things we agreed on, we agreed. The things we didn't agree on, we didn't agree on. And we just part ways, and as usual, drive back. And I remember every time I drive nowadays long distance, I still remember that habit of my dad. The habit of constantly inquiring how I am faring on, how the journey is. And this thing was irritating. And I think I've said this in sermons a number of times. This thing used to irritate me, but right now, I think it's the one thing I miss the most. Just somebody overly concerned. I don't understand what was the obsession with my dad of always wanting to know. We have just left the house. We have not driven more than 100 kilometers or more than 1 hour. He's already asking, how far have you gone? Are you safe? How far have you gone? Are you safe? It's as though he was literally troubled by my journey at every instance of the journey. I don't know. Maybe I would want to ask this. If we meet in heaven, I would want to ask him personally. If we don't meet in heaven, I would want to ask God to try and help me understand. Was it that he was praying for me at every instance when he was asking this question? What was making him so much worried about me and concerned about me? When I miss my father, there are things I miss. I think I miss that one. I miss just having somebody who was constantly concerned about my travel. Somebody who was, okay, it was bothering me then. I don't know. If my dad will be resurrected, one of the things I would want to talk about with him is keep on asking me. Keep on telling me asking how far I've gone with the journey. Never got bothered. In fact, would make, there is hope for the living. There is hope for the living. Those who are joined to the living. And I like this text in Ecclesiastes 9 verses 5. It says, for the living know. I don't know how many of us know this. It says, for the living know that they shall die. That text is profound. That text, I can't run by it. The living know that they shall die. That's why I sit down and I talk about death and life. Because the living should know that they shall die. In fact, I think the awareness of death or the awareness of the brevity of life would inspire us to live a better life. If you're told you will die tomorrow, there are things you may want to do today. If you are told you will die in 15 days, there are things you would want to do. And I've always asked myself, if I was told I was going to die within 2 hours, what are some of the things I would want to do within 2 hours? Are there things that I would want to make right within 2 hours? I know, and we've always said, I don't fear death and all that. But even when you don't fear death, no. The text has already said that we are born with the fear of death. I like the preacher. I think it's Pastor Pap who was asking the question, and he was saying, if you're afraid of, are you afraid of death? I think that's what he was analyzing. And he says, if you're afraid of death, you must have a good reason for being afraid. And if you're not afraid of death, you must have a good reason. And I subscribe to that school of thought. Because one thing I know, we are born with this fear of death. But again, the living know that they shall die is something that I think we forget that. We forget that. Because if we know that we will die, I think it will make us know how to live. You see, if we don't know that we will die, if we think we are not going to die, we can live our lives in whatever ways we want. But if the living know that they will die, the living will live knowing that life is for the living, as I normally say. And why I say this is because in life there are things that we ought to do. The story of the rich man and Lazarus captures an interesting story that Jesus brings. Jesus uses a common teaching, a misplaced teaching, even uses a teaching that is erroneous to be able to bring forward an important truth. He says, and this one I think it's one of those stories that you owe it to yourself to hear the rich man and Lazarus and just look at how the story pans out. Because in the story of the rich man and Lazarus, there is one word that I just want to run through in this story of the rich man and Lazarus, and I think it is in Luke chapter 16 and reading from verses 25. But Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest good things. In fact, the living know that they shall die brings me to ask myself, thou in thy lifetime, what do I do in my lifetime? If the living know that they will die, the rich man actually in his lifetime, he didn't live like one who knew that he will die. He lived like one who thought he will live forever. That is why when now he finds himself in this figurative story where Jesus is picturing him going to burn, and he's saying, go talk to my brothers. Just advise my brothers how they ought to live. But you see, you're worried about the life of your brothers because when you are living together with your brothers, you didn't live like there is death. You live like you will live forever. In fact, if we live a life in which we are corrupt, corruption is the clearest indication that you think you will not die. And no matter what you do about corruption, whether you are stealing so that you have better security, or you're stealing so that you have more riches to be able to survive the next economic collapse. But let me tell you, you must live with the mentality that the living must know they will die. When COVID came the other day, you saw what happened about COVID, and when there was a problem about oxygen for those who got COVID. But I also got COVID, and God got me out of COVID. But when there was a problem about COVID, and they started talking about oxygen is in limited supply, and that's why people are dying, what happened? Many rich people went and bought cylinders of oxygen and put them, and the poor just sat down. So you've already secured for yourself life. You see, the problem with humanity, you're not even dead, but even the little oxygen that is available, you want it to be with you so that you can prevent your death, instead of trusting in God to take care of your life. I like telling my wife that part of the healthcare challenges I faced since I came over to Ireland made me one of these times just start thinking critically. What should I be praying for? A better healthcare or a better health? Should I pray that God gives me access to the best doctors? Should I pray that God, and I think at times God does not give us what we want. If it's a better healthcare that you're looking for, it means you're seeking to be sick. We should actually seek to have a better health, and God can give that. God can make healthcare not to be something to worry about. We die. I know we can be able to explain, the death, they are preventable deaths. Okay. I don't want to argue about that. That will make this to be long. I'm just thinking, and as I say, where is my father? I'm just asking myself, and I read the text, the living know that they should die, they will die. And when you read in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verses 5, it finishes by saying, but the dead know nothing. Living have knowledge, dead have no knowledge. In other words, when we are alive, we know. My dad who is dead knows nothing, irrespective of all the wonderful things that he knew right now. If he did not pen them down, or if he did not pass them over to me through oral tradition and stories, there's nothing that he knows. There is hope for the living. The living know that they will die. And I read the text, and it says, the dead know not anything, neither have they any more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. They have no memory. And that's why I wonder when I hear stories of people talking about dead loved ones came and they gave me this instruction, they talked to me about this, and I ask myself, how? If they are giving me instructions to prevent me from calamities, why didn't they prevent themselves? Why didn't they give themselves instructions to prevent death? Okay, let's argue. Well, now that they are spirit, they can be able to see ahead and such. Okay, so if you love your children, so you're going to die so that you can be able to protect them and see ahead. No, I don't want to believe this. Making my father alive or putting my father in a better place when he's dead actually is a form of trying to ensure that my father is the one in charge of taking care of me and not God. And that disorganizes my thought process. As I told you, I am just talking to myself. It disorganizes my thought process, because in my thought process, while reasoning from logic, it means the person who is going to handle and solve the death mystery to me must not be able to die. And that is why I believe in God, because God is not dead, God is alive. How do I know that God is alive? I'm going to talk about that. I think I need to create some more time to explain how I know, not how they told me that God is alive. Because I believe that what gives us hope is God speaking to us. A dead relative cannot give me hope. A dead friend cannot give me hope. There is hope to him that is joined to the living. In fact, listen to this. In Ecclesiastes chapter 9 verses 6, it says, also their love, their hatred, their envy is now perished. Neither have they any more portion forever in anything that is done under the sun. Why don't people read this text? How can dead people come and interfere with my life when I am alive, and yet there is a text that says they don't have a portion in anything that is done under the sun? My dead father cannot come right now to start telling me that, oh, you don't need to buy this vehicle, buy the other one. No, he can't. He has no more control over the things that are done by the living. Let the living deal with the living issues. The living know that they will die. And that's why the book of Ecclesiastes, I didn't plan to just walk through chapter 9, but chapter 9 is becoming interesting. It says, okay, go your way. Eat your bread with joy. Don't be obsessed about dead people. Just eat your bread with joy. While it's painful, and I don't want to make it look like I don't miss my dad. I miss my dad. That's why I'm even here talking to myself and saying, where's my father? Because I miss my dad. But because his love cannot help me right now. His counsels cannot help me right now. His hatred cannot help me right now. The Bible says, go your way. Eat your bread with joy. Life is for the living. I have to live. I have to enjoy food. I have to eat. And drink thy wine with a merry heart. For God now accepteth thy works. Okay. The reason I am eating, despite the fact that there is death, is because God is watching the things I am doing right now. He's concerned about what I do in my lifetime. Remember the story of the rich man and Lazarus. In thy lifetime, God is concerned. He says in verses 9. No. Let me read verses 8. So first of all, because the living know that they will die, the dead know nothing. The knowledge of life means do one thing, take care of your body, eat well, just eat well. Not just eat everything. I said just eat well, eat healthy. Why? Because the living know that they will die. And don't eat as though life is just about eating. Life is more than eating. But please, go and eat. Have some time to eat. I know. It's the cost of living has gone high. Things are expensive. But once in a while, I always say to myself, let me treat myself. I go and buy for myself a good dish and buy for my family and we eat. Yes, I know the bills are there. We will pay the bills tomorrow. We will complain that we are struggling. Those ones will complain, but at least one thing that I can also say is that I ate. Can't live this life surviving throughout. Suffering and crying throughout, not eating. When the Bible says the living know that they will die, and because the living know that they will die, go thy way and eat. And not only go your way and eat. Verses 8 of Ecclesiastes 9 says, let your garments be always white, and let your head lack no ointment. That's why I put some oil on my hair today. It says, let your garments be always white. Dress properly. When you're alive, I don't know why people get smart when they are dead. Nobody wants to talk about this nowadays so many times. But I always say, I don't want to be buried in the most expensive suit. If you want to buy for me a suit, buy it right now. If I want to buy for myself a suit, let me buy it right now. In fact, I've always said, if I'm to die, no need spending. In fact, I wish I put this one online so that it will be played when I die. Somebody will say, hey, he said when he dies, don't go buy for him a new cloth. Just bury him in the ones that are existent. The living know that they will die. It says here, let your garment be white. Dress properly. Get for yourself some good clothes and everything. Just live life. Live life. Let your garments be white. Let your head not lack ointment. Take good care of your hair. Take good care of your head. Take good care of your body. Why? Continue to read. The Bible says in verses 9, live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy life, of thy vanity. It says live joyfully with your life, with your wife, and I love this one. We are social beings. The living know that they will die. So when we are still alive, let's have time. Let's have time for the people we love when we are alive. Let's spend time with our spouses. Let's spend time with our children. Let's spend time with our friends. And I like this. I like this when the wisest man that ever lived, Solomon the preacher, puts it that live joyfully with the wife whom thou lovest all the days of thy vanity, which he hath given thee under the sun, all the days of thy vanity. For this is thy portion in this life, and in thy labor that thou takest under the sun. Let us not forget that we are social beings. Where's my father? This has provoked me to think how I live my life. I don't want to be obsessed with how I will die. I want to be obsessed with how I will live each and every single day. And as the sun goes down on the west, I think for myself, I need to be sure that I live my life to the glory of God. The text goes ahead to say in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, reading from verses 10, it says, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, the living know that they will die. Therefore, whatever your hand finds to do. Now he has left the realm of eating. He has left the realm of socializing. He has now come to the realm of vocation. Whatever your hand findeth to do, where you find yourself, live life. If it's at work, let's live life. If it's in church, let's live life. Leave a mark. In fact, somebody said one of the most important things is what will they write on your epitaph, on the tombstone. Give people something to write. I always see what people write in tributes and obituaries, and at times it becomes difficult to write things about certain people. But you see, we can only write what you are living. At times, people have to look for the things you're doing in your childhood. Please have something that when we are writing about your life, we can be able to write from your childhood to the time that you died. That's why it's written, born in 1987 and died in the year that he died. Within, and they normally say, I like this thing, there's a poet who said that that dash of born, sunrise, they nowadays write sunrise and sunset, but born in this year, and the dash, the in-between of these 2 years is what matters. And this is the opportunity you and I have to fill in things in the in-between so that something can be written that here was a man that lived. When I die, I don't want it to be said, he is a man that died. It should be, because all of us will die. The living know that they will die. But it should be stated, before you died, at least you did something, you lived. And when you read the text, it says, I returned. No, not before I returned. It says, whatsoever your hand findeth to do, do with all your might. So what you have to do, do with all your might. This one has always challenged me. That every opportunity the Lord grants me, oh, Lord, help me that this week I may represent you through this text. That I may live this text. I will do whatever my hand finds to do with all my might. I will put all my energies, not 70%. At times I put 70% or 60% because I think somebody else thinks this way or wants to do this way. But God encourages me today that let me do with all my might. Let me put 100% effort on what I have to do. With all your might. For there is no work. Now, why should I live life to the fullest? Why should I be the best engineer that I can be? Why should I be the best father that I can be? Why should I be the best husband that I can be? I just sat and thought through this text, and it just reminded me. Here is a reason for living. The living know that they will die. Death is coming. I'm not threatening myself. And I'm not even saying those things where, people, when you die, people say, oh, I think he had thought that he had started seeing a premonition that he's going to die. Beloved, I have not seen a premonition that I am going to die. I'm just talking to myself. That, of late he has been talking so much about death. Is it that he was preparing for death? I'm not preparing for death. I want to live. I don't want to die. But I just want to remind us, there's a reason why God has left us alive. The living must know that they will die. The text says, this is the reason why we must live 100%. This is why we must do what our hands find to do with all our might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. The grave where we are going, there is no knowledge. The grave where we are going, there is no work. So all the knowledge that we have, please do not conserve the knowledge that you have. Use it right now. The Lord has placed you here to use that wisdom. The Lord has placed you where He has placed you to use that knowledge. It says there is no work, no device. The work that you have to do, wherever you find yourself, God has placed you there. Do that work with all your might, because in the grave, there is no opportunity for that. Part of the reasons why we at times fear death is because of unfinished businesses, unfinished tasks. When you look at the way Paul talks about it, Paul says, I have finished my course. I have finished the race. But why would Paul say this? Because he lived his life as one who was nearing the finishing line. Even if the finishing line is still 100 years to come, or the finishing line is still 10 years to come, live your life as though the finishing line is here and now. Give today 100%. And when you read the text, it says this in verses 11 of Ecclesiastes chapter 9. I will do part 2 of Where is My Father at a later time. But chapter 11 of Ecclesiastes 9 says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, the battle is not to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to the man of understanding, nor yet favor to the man of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. God has given us time and chance. He says the race is not to the swift. Just because you are number last in a race does not mean that you're, at least thank God you are alive. In the race of life, it's equal, you're alive. The race is not to the swift. If everyone was the fastest person, who would be there to wait for you? Can you imagine if everyone was the fastest person on the earth? You're about to talk to somebody, they've run away, they've disappeared. Imagine. No, I don't want that kind of a life. There must be some people who are slow. If everyone was the wisest person, even when you think you have a brilliant idea, they already have a better idea than yours. Do you know, in a group of intelligent people, there is always even more conflict. Because when somebody gives a point, the other person wants to give a better point than what this one gave. Thank God the race is not to the swift. Thank God that the bread is not to the wise. Because if food was only for those who are intelligent and wise, do you think you will be having food today? If you just look at yourself, listen, I know at times we argue about these things, but listen, if food was only given to those who are wise, do you think you'll be eating today? Because there are people who are wiser than you. And look at the text. It says, nor yet riches to men of understanding. With your level of understanding, even the basic of riches you will not be able to afford. I'm not saying that I have more understanding than you. I'm saying even me, I will be challenged. Maybe we will all be categorized under the poor if understanding was the one that was to give riches. And it says, not yet favor to men of skill. Because you're not as skillful. There's always somebody who's more skillful than you. Look at the world of football. Every year, there is always a different footballer of the year. Even if somebody retains it for several years, but listen, they are not the best after some years. A time comes when he can no longer be the best. So I'm convinced that God has done one thing good for us. Time and chance happeneth to them all. In your lifetime, time and chance happeneth to them all. God has given us the time. God has given you the time. God has given me the time. As I spend time asking, where is my Father? I want to appreciate life. I want to live life. I want to thank God that I am alive. And because I am alive, I want to live for God in the moment that He's given me to be alive. Because the living know that they will die. Time and chance happens to everyone. The fact that you're alive is not a mistake. That is part of God's divine plan. He's allowed you to be alive. Let me finish with verse 12. For a man also knoweth not his time, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, as the birds that are caught in a snare, so are the sons of men snared in an evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. Time and chance happeneth to them all. It says, no man knoweth his time, but God knoweth the time. And God has placed it with us, that we may be able to appreciate Him. The living know that they will die. Let's live life. I sat for myself today and I thought, we need to live life. That's why the words of Annie Rebecca Smith would always ring in my mind, asking, how far from home? I asked as I bent on my steps. The watchman spake. The long dark night is almost gone. Then weep no more, but speed thy flight. With hope's bright star, thy guiding ray, till thou shalt reach the realms of light, an everlasting day. I asked the warrior on the field. This was his soul-inspiring song. With courage bold, the sword I'll wield. The battle is not long, then weep no more, but well endure thy conflict till thy work is done. Life will be tough, but well endure the conflict till thy work is done. When your work is done, your lifetime will be over. You will be laid to rest. There is no work in the grave. Endure the conflict. It's going to be tough. Endure the conflict till thy work is done. For this we know the prize is sure when victory is won. Can't wait for the prize. I ask again. I love today. Today has been a good day. The sun is up. In Ireland, since I came here, it's been rare to just see the sun up. That's why I got to my balcony and I just sat at my balcony and I said, I just want to spend time with God as I wait for the sundown. Just spend some time with God. I asked again at sea and stars seemed and sun seemed with one voice to make reply. Everything, even the sun, seemed with one voice to make reply. That time's wasting suns, like the suns of the hourglass. The days of our lives are like that sun of the hourglass. Time's wasting suns are nearly run. Then weep no more. with warning tones. Nature itself is giving us warning tones that potential signs are thickening round. Eternity is nigh. Eternity is nigh. And says the whole creation waiting groans to hear the trumpet sound. Every time I read that stanza, I ask myself, if even the gazelle in the jungles in the savannas of Africa, running from the lion, waiting groans to hear the trumpet sound. There's a gazelle somewhere that knows that unless the trumpet of the Lord sounds, they will always have to run faster than the lion so that they are not something's breakfast or supper. The lion knows that if it doesn't run fast enough, it will go hungry. And that's why creation waiting groans to hear the trumpet sounds. Even creation itself. Then weep no more. But honey, Rebecca Smith pens the last words, which I want to close with, in stanza 4, when she says, not far from home, oh blessed thoughts. Oh, in my lifetime, I want to live each day knowing that not far from home, oh blessed thought, the traveler's lonely heart to cheer. Where is my father? I feel lonely. There are moments I cry. There are moments it's tough. I don't like talking about what I feel. There are moments it weighs me down. There are moments I'm worried. The traveler's lonely heart to cheer that we are not far from home. This oft a healing balm has brought and dried the mourner's tears. Not far from home is what has dried my tears. Not that my father is somewhere in heaven singing with the angels. That one even brings more tears. Because if he's in heaven singing with the angels, why did he go to sing with the angels when he's more relevant here on earth? Then you come interfering with my sleep at night. No, don't. Let me sleep. Let me just sleep. Because that thing which comes to interfere with my sleep, I think I need to do this one in the next part of this series. Where's my father? I need to talk about these people who come and interfere with sleep, which dried the mourner's tear. Not far from home is what dries my tears. And any other person who is in a similar situation, not far from home, may it dry your tears. Then weep no more, since we shall meet where weary footsteps never roll. But I love this part. Our trials past, our joys complete, safe in our Father's home. Where is my Father? I want to go to my Father's home. Safe. That's a safe place. Trials past, joys complete, safe in our Father's home. Lord, I'm glad that one day our trials will be past. One day we'll be safe in our Father's home. One day we shall weep no more. One day, that day is coming, Lord. Prepare us for that one day. Lord, I look at my life and I don't feel that I have attained it. I feel my inadequacies. But God, I'm asking you that you be with us, that you may bless us, myself, my family, my friends, my relatives, God, even my enemies. One day, get us to the place where there will be no death. God, get us to the place where it will be well. But until then, the songwriter says, my heart will go on singing. Until then, with joy I'll carry on. Until then, Lord, give us this hope, that we may be able to be comforted by the fact that we are not far from home. We may be comforted by the fact that God, you've reminded us that a knowledge of death should inspire us to live. And that in living we should not only live avoiding death, but we should live life to the fullest, knowing that God, in our lifetime, you've given us an opportunity to be able to live before we die. Bless me and bless us all who will listen to this message. And God, I pray for your special comfort to myself and any other person who's lost a loved one. There are people who have been bereaved in so many ways. God, we don't know what to do. At times it's more comforting when people talk to us and they make it look like it's not much. But God, you know the pain we go through. You know the loneliness we go through. You know the heartaches we have to bear when we remember our loved ones. God, in a special way, be thou the one who will comfort us. God, we trust in you. Help us that we may be able to walk with the words of the song, then weep no more. That God, the reason we'll weep no more is because one day our trials will pass. One day our joy will be complete. Not like this earthly joy which is temporal and incomplete. For when at times we start enjoying life with our loved ones, soon we lose them. But one day our trials will be past. Our joys will be complete, safe in our Father's home. Lord, bless us. Now and always is my prayer in Jesus' name.
to